At the annual awards night, my team lead accepted the Best Project award for work I had led entirely on my own. On stage, he grinned and said, "Couldn't have done it without my amazing team, especially our little intern." I sat frozen at my table as everyone turned to look at me, laughing. I waited 3 days, gathered every email, every draft, every client message, and submitted a formal complaint that ended with him publicly apologizing and quietly resigning. So this happened in Cincinnati, Ohio 2 years ago. I was 26 at the time, working as a contracted data analyst for a mid-sized tech company. Not an intern, not an assistant. A paid analyst with 7 months of nonstop work under my belt. I wasn't even supposed to be working on the Westridge project, but somehow it landed on my desk when no one else wanted to deal with the clients. The Westridge account was a mess when I got it. They had fired their last vendor and were already pissed about the delay. Our company promised a fresh start. My manager passed it down to my team lead, Derek, who immediately passed it to me with a shrug and said, "Let me know when it's done."
No guidance.
No help. Just dumped it on my plate and disappeared. I didn't complain. I wanted to prove myself. So I dug in. I was working 60-hour weeks trying to repair the client relationship. I joined every client call, took every note, updated every file. Derek? He'd sit in but stayed on mute or left halfway through. Half the time he was working from home or traveling. When he did email, it was usually one line. "Looks good." Or "Push this to Friday." I handled design drafts, system testing, user data migration, and all budgeting. Every deliverable had my fingerprints on it. The clients were satisfied, hell grateful, and the execs noticed. Derek noticed too, but not in a good way. He never praised me. Never told me I was doing well. Just kept showing up in meetings and nodding like he was in charge. Then came the annual awards night. Everyone treated it like the Oscars of the company. It was held in the ballroom of a fancy hotel downtown. They even brought in a DJ and served champagne. We were told to dress up. I saved up to buy a second-hand black dress from a consignment shop. The tag was still on it. When I showed up, my name wasn't even listed at our table. They had me listed as intern Sarah A. I had to explain twice to the hostess that I wasn't an intern and that I'd been assigned to that table for Westridge. I was already feeling like crap. Then they started the ceremony. They went through 5 or 6 categories. People gave speeches, laughed, clapped. Then they announced the Best Project Award. That's when my stomach dropped. They called it the Westridge Project, led by Derek Myers. I remember hearing my heart in my ears. I looked around, thinking maybe someone would say something. Nope. Derek got up, kissed the award like a dumbass, and walked to the mic. His speech was short. I remember every word. This one means a lot. It took time, patience, and great leadership. Couldn't have done it without my amazing team, especially our little intern. She kept the coffee flowing. Then he pointed right at me. Some people laughed. A few turned and looked at me like I was a damn office assistant. One guy clapped like he thought it was cute. He said frozen. I didn't even know what to do with my face. I felt like my skin was on fire. But I didn't cry. I didn't walk out. I just sat there and stared down at my plate until the event ended. I didn't go to work. I didn't call out either. I needed time. I sat in my tiny apartment with my laptop and started digging through everything I had. Every version of every doc. Every email Derek had ignored. Every time the client had said, "Let's ask Sarah." Every line in the budget spreadsheet I had created from scratch. Every calendar invite where I was the organizer. I built a timeline. I printed it all. Labeled it. Highlighted. Indexed. Not because I thought HR would do anything, but because I needed proof. For myself. To remind myself that I wasn't crazy. I showed up like normal. Derek had the award on his desk. He was beaming. Said something like, "Ready for round 2 intern?" I just smiled and said, "Always." He probably thought I was flattered. That same day, I set a 9 a.m. appointment with HR for Wednesday. Christine from HR barely looked up when I walked in. She probably thought I was going to whine about workload or ask about PTO. Then I dropped 6 folders on her desk and slid over a printed formal complaint. Her eyes stopped scanning. "This is for the Westridge Project." The one that won Derek the award. She started flipping through the first folder. I had everything organized by phase. I didn't talk while she read. I let the documents speak for themselves. Eventually, she asked, "You're an intern?" I handed her a copy of my contract. Analyst. Contracted through the end of Q4. She sat back. I could see it. She knew this wasn't just some office drama. This was something they could get sued for if they ignored it. I didn't need to say much else. She said she'd follow up. I walked out without saying goodbye. I don't know what happened behind closed doors, but I noticed things immediately. Derek wasn't in his usual morning meetings. His award was gone by Friday. His laptop disappeared off his desk. By noon, we got the email. "We want to thank Derek Myers for his contributions. He has decided to move on to other opportunities." Right. Move on. They think we're stupid. But I wasn't mad anymore. I was focused, because I knew where he was trying to go next. He had been bragging about applying for a senior position in the Chicago office. A real promotion. So I waited until I got a LinkedIn message from a recruiter asking about my time working under Derek Myers on the Westridge project. I replied within the hour. I was the project lead. Derek's role was minimal. I submitted a formal ethics complaint after he misrepresented himself and humiliated me publicly at our awards ceremony. He resigned shortly after. HR can confirm the details. She didn't respond after that. But someone in the Chicago office later told me Derek never got the job. He's not listed on any major firm now. I checked. Things settled down for a little while after Derek left. People stopped talking about the awards night. I got quiet pats on the back from a few coworkers, the kind of supportive looks people give when they know something but don't want to say it out loud. But even though Derek was gone, his mess wasn't. 2 weeks later, I got pulled into a meeting with upper management. It wasn't HR. It was the VP of Operations, a senior project manager I'd never met before, and a lawyer from legal. That last one made my stomach twist. They sat me down in a glass-walled conference room and closed the blinds. "Sarah," the VP said, "we've been going over everything you submitted. First, I want to be clear, we take it seriously. You did the right thing bringing this forward." I didn't say anything. I just nodded. He looked at the lawyer, who slid a piece of paper across the table. "We also found something else," she said. "Some documents Derek submitted during the final delivery were altered." "Altered how?" I asked. "They had billing reports and budget numbers that didn't match yours. When we checked the originals, they were from your sheets." He inflated totals, removed notes, and resubmitted them under his own files. I sat there numb. I had no idea that had happened. He padded the budget? Yes. About $7,000 unaccounted for. That explained why the numbers looked off during the last client meeting. Derek must have been moving things around in the background. The lawyer continued. "We may have to bring in an external auditor. We've also reached out to the client to explain the discrepancy." I knew what that meant. My name might still be attached to the project. Even if I hadn't done anything wrong, I was still the person who handled all the visible parts. They were covering themselves now. The VP said, "You're not in trouble, Sarah. But we'll need your full cooperation in case this escalates." I said I understood. And I did. But as soon as I walked out of the room, my hands were shaking. Turns out, Westridge's executive team wasn't happy. Not just about the numbers, but about the way the award had been handled. They were under the impression that Derek had led the project. They had sent him a thank you gift. A bottle of wine and a handwritten note. Now they felt lied to. They didn't say it outright, but I could tell they were pissed. Not just at him. At us. The company. Me maybe. I had a one-on-one call with their head of product, Jenna. "You did great work, Sarah," she said, flat voice. "But this whole situation, it's made us rethink the partnership." I told her the truth. That I'd been blindsided just like them. That Derek submitted things without my knowledge. That I'd already filed a report. She just said, "Noted." The call ended cold. That account had been a big deal. If we lost it, it wouldn't just be Derek who burned a bridge. It would hit the company's numbers. And that would trickle down to everyone. I wasn't done cleaning up after him. That weekend, I got a text from a former coworker who had left the company months earlier. She sent me a screenshot of Derek's Facebook post. It was public. Left my last company on my own terms. Corporate politics aren't for everyone. But don't worry, bigger things coming soon. You can't keep a real leader down. Stay tuned. Then in the comments, someone asked, "What happened with the Westridge Award?" He replied, "Company gave credit to the wrong person. You know how it goes. Interns take notes and make copies, and suddenly they think they ran the show." My name wasn't in it, but it was clear who he meant. That was the moment I knew this wasn't over. He was still lying. Still trying to spin it. Still pretending I was nothing more than a coffee fetcher who got lucky. And now, I wasn't just dealing with his damage inside the company, I was fighting against the story he was spreading outside. I saved the screenshots. Monday morning, I walked into the office and something was off. A few coworkers weren't making eye contact. Then one of them, Mark, pulled me aside. "You didn't hear this from me," he said quietly. "But someone in finance is saying you were the one who changed the numbers." "Not Derek." "What?" "I'm telling you, it's going around. That you were pushing to make yourself look good. Cut corners. That Derek took the fall because he was your boss." My stomach dropped. This was it. This was Derek's last move. He couldn't stay, so now he was poisoning the well on his way out. And someone inside was helping him do it. I had already fought hard to get the truth out once. But now I realized I had to go further. I needed to find out who was spreading these lies. I needed to prove, again, that I hadn't just done the work, I had done it honestly. I needed to burn every inch of Derek's legacy to the ground. No more being polite. No more folders and quiet meetings. I was going to take this public. After Mark told me about the rumor, I didn't sleep that night. I kept running it over in my head. What if people really believed it? That I had cooked the numbers? That I was just trying to get ahead and framed my boss to do it? I didn't know how many people had heard the lie. I didn't know who was repeating it. But I knew this much. If I didn't shut it down hard and fast, it was going to stick. So I started digging again. I went back through my old Slack threads and internal emails. Derek hadn't been part of finance. He had no direct reason to interact with them, except for one guy, Tyler. Tyler was mid-30s, wore loafers with no socks, and acted like he was doing Wall Street stuff even though our office had free bagels every Wednesday. I remembered something small. 2 months earlier, Derek and Tyler were in the break room laughing. I'd walked in and they shut up quick. Back then I hadn't thought much of it. Now I wondered. I pulled up the metadata on the altered budget doc, the one Derek had changed and submitted. I looked again at the audit logs. And there it was. The file had been opened, at one point, on a finance machine. From Tyler's user account. So he had seen it. And he hadn't said a word when the budget was questioned. Which meant either he helped cover it up, or he was sloppy. Either way, he wasn't just a side character anymore. I didn't go to HR right away. I needed more than speculation. Instead, I started showing up earlier. Watching who talked to who hushed their voices when I passed by. I also talked to a few coworkers I trusted. Quiet people. Observers. One of them, Denise from QA, dropped the biggest clue. Tyler said something weird in the elevator. She told me. Said the company was dumb for taking your side. That interns always find a way to play victim. Interns again. Derek's same damn word, coming out of someone else's mouth. And this time I knew for sure. He was feeding Tyler his version of the story. Maybe they were friends. Maybe there was something worse. That's when I checked LinkedIn again. Guess what I found? Tyler had written Derek a glowing endorsement 1 week after Derek resigned. It wasn't just rumors anymore. Derek and Tyler had worked together to push the fake numbers. Then when I reported Derek, Tyler had stayed behind and helped spread a different story. And he was still here. Still employed. Still smiling at me in the hallway. I had let my guard down too soon. Derek might have been gone from the office, but his rot was still in the walls. So I got serious. I compiled a new report. This time, I didn't just include documents. I included quotes, logs, Slack messages, audit trails, screenshots of LinkedIn posts, texts from coworkers. Every small thing that showed how Derek and Tyler had stayed in contact, and how Tyler had likely helped manipulate project data and cover Derek's tracks. I even printed a copy of the budget file logs showing Tyler's name on the access record. Then I walked back into HR. But this time, the energy was different. Christine looked cautious. When I laid out everything and explained the connections, she leaned back in her chair. "This is serious, Sarah," she said. "We'll look into it." I said, "You said that last time. Derek's gone. But Tyler's still spreading lies. If you don't act now, you're complicit." She frowned. "You need to be careful making accusations like that." That's when I knew something had changed. Maybe it was pressure from above. Maybe they didn't want another scandal. Or maybe they were afraid of what they'd find if they pulled the thread too far. Either way, they were hesitating. So I decided I needed to go around them. I knew one person who still worked with Westridge's client team, Jenna, the product lead. She had gone cold on me after the audit news, but I still had her number. I texted her. "Jenna, I need 5 minutes. I know what happened with the budget. Derek wasn't acting alone. I can prove it. If you care about the truth, let me show you." She replied in 10 minutes. "Meet me at the coffee shop off 5th tomorrow, 8 a.m. That next morning, I showed up with a folder of my own. Jenna listened quietly. She didn't smile, didn't interrupt. Then she said, "That explains everything." I didn't ask what she meant. But 2 days later, I found out she'd forwarded my documents to her legal team and to someone in our corporate office. Not local HR, not middle management, corporate. And that's when the real storm began. 3 days after my meeting with Jenna, everything cracked open. It started with an email from corporate HR. Not local, corporate. The kind with a Manhattan office address and 5 people CC'd I didn't recognize. The subject line was, "Follow-up, misconduct investigation urgent." They scheduled a mandatory video meeting. Friday, 3 p.m.
No explanación.
Just my name, the names of 3 executives, and a dial-in link. When the meeting started, my heart was pounding so hard I couldn't hear the first few words. Then I heard this. "Sarah, thank you for coming. You've been extremely patient. And we owe you answers." One of the senior compliance directors, a woman named Tanya, spoke the rest of the time. She told me that my documents had triggered a company-wide audit. What started as one team-led stealing credit had revealed a pattern. Not just Derek. Not just Tyler. But at least 3 people in the finance chain had signed off on falsified numbers to make projects look stronger during quarterly reviews. Derek's manipulation wasn't a one-off. It had just been the most visible one. And once corporate legal saw how I documented every file, date, and name, they ran it against other award-winning projects from the past 2 years. It was a mess. A quiet mess. But a big one. They thanked me again. Then said the following. "Tyler has been placed on administrative leave pending termination. Your original complaint has been reclassified as a whistleblower report. You will be issued a formal apology, and an internal statement will be sent to the entire company correcting the record." Then came the kicker. "We'd like to offer you a promotion to full-time project lead. Immediate pay bump. Retroactive bonus for Westridge. Full benefits. And a permanent seat in the strategy team." I didn't speak for a few seconds. I think I was in shock. I'd gone from being mocked as an intern to being invited into high-level meetings with people I used to fetch coffee for. But that wasn't even the real revenge. The real revenge came after the statement a week later. An email went out company-wide. Subject: Correction regarding Westridge project leadership. It was brief, professional, and devastating. It named me as the lead on the Westridge project. It acknowledged that Derek had been found to have misrepresented his contributions and submitted falsified reporting data with the assistance of another employee, Tyler. It stated that after an internal audit, steps had been taken, and a formal apology was extended to me. It ended with, "We remain committed to integrity, transparency, and accountability at every level of this organization." I didn't have to say a word. The same people who laughed at me that night now avoided eye contact in the hallways. The same people who bought Derek drinks were now whispering about how he'd been just another fraud. Tyler was terminated. Quietly but completely. His LinkedIn went dead 2 weeks later. Oh, Derek didn't just disappear. The company didn't let him go with a clean exit anymore. Corporate reclassified his departure as termination for cause. That means no good reference.
No pagut.
No eligibility for rehire. Then I got a message from Jenna, the Westridge product lead. She said the story about Derek had spread. He tried to apply to another company they partnered with. She made sure they knew the full story. He didn't get the job. But it got worse. Remember the $7,000 he fudged in the budget? The company's legal team contacted him after the audit. Since he'd submitted manipulated reports and benefited from the project's bonus, they demanded reimbursement. He tried to fight it. But they had his IP logs, emails, even a signature. Last I heard, he settled out of court. Quietly. Which means he paid. I took the job. Full-time project lead. I now sit in a different office with a different kind of view. I don't chase approval anymore. I manage my own team. I lead and I make damn sure my team gets credit, every single one of them. But I'll be honest. This changed me. I don't laugh off small comments anymore. I don't play it down when someone tries to take what I earned. I document everything. I say what needs to be said. I don't let it slide. Because once upon a time, I let someone stand on a stage and point at me while calling me the intern. He laughed. And now? I don't think he's laughing anymore.